Everyone, today I'm here to teach you how to do a knit and purl together. It'll give you a really nice pattern. It's like a ribbing for like the cuff of a sweater, cuff of a slipper. It's pretty easy once you get the hang of it. So I'm gonna make my slip knot. I'm gonna give myself a little bit of a tail to do a few stitches. Once again, fingers, index fingers in between, and you twist, pull the yarn through. I must say it looks pretty easy with different colored yarn. I love working with different colored yarn because you never know what kind of colors you're going to come out with. So I'm going to take my right hand with my right needle and slip the knot on. So here's my first stitch, everyone. So once again, my favorite cast on, upside down V. I'm going to take my thumb, twist my thumb a little bit so you could see, pick up my stitch, go across to the other side, wrap around, loop over, and through. I'm probably gonna add on maybe 10 stitches. So there's 2, under, over, loop over knitting needle and pull, under, over, loop through and pull, under, over, loop over and pull, under, over, and pull. So we have 6 stitches, 7, loop over and pull, under, over, loop over and pull, 9, and 10. Look at all those nice colors, how they blend together. So I'm gonna make sure, so I gotta count my stitches. I'm gonna go, so when you're doing a row, you have to make sure you start with a knit and end in a purl. So this is where I have to count my stitches. But I do it like knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. So my row ends in a purl. So I'm going to take my yarn and my needle in my left hand. Now in my right hand, I'm going to start my first row. So I'm going to do a knit, then a purl, then a knit, then a purl. So I'm going to take my knitting needle once again, bring it up through my loop, make my X, take my long strand, wrap it around the knitting needle in through. I'm going to take my stitch, take the blue stitch off the needle. Now I'm going to do a purl this time. So I'm going to make sure my yarn is actually pulled tight. So now when you're doing a purl, you have to take your yarn, bring it in front. So facing you, the yarn is pointing at you. Now I'm going to take my knitting needle and I'm going to take it and go down through my loop, pointing at the floor. I'm going to take my yarn, wrap it around the knitting needle again. I'm going to go to the back side of my knitting needle. Here's my stitch, and take the green one off the needle. Now I'm going to do my knit once again and behind, wrap my knitting needle around, my yarn, excuse me, in through the middle, push my knitting needle through. Here's my stitch, take the old one off the needle, I'm gonna do my pearl again, wrap the yarn in front, take my right knitting needle in my right hand, go down through the loop, wrap the yarn around the knitting needle that you're working with, and see, here's my stitch. Take the old stitch off the needle. Going to go back to do my knit. Knitting needle up through the back, wrap around, in through, got my stitch, take the old one off the needle. I'm gonna wrap the yarn around facing you for your pearl. And see, you got like these little loops here. This shows you that you're doing a pearl. Yarn facing the floor, or knitting needle going through the loop to face the floor. I will do that again. Yarn around the knitting needle. Take your yarn, the loop is through. Yellow loop off the needle. Yarn back to the back of the knitting needle to do your knit. Knitting needle up through the back, wrap your yarn around to the middle. You have your loop, take the old one off the knitting needle. Yarn back in front for your pearl. Down, facing the floor. Yarn around. You've got your loop, take the old one off the knitting needle. Yarn back to the back for your knit. Put your needle through the loop, wrap around, in through, pull to get your stitch, old stitch off needle. Now I'm just gonna try and jump ahead after. Here's my last pearl. I'm gonna face the floor, wrap the yarn around the knitting needle. Here's my loop at the back. Now I have my first row done. And you're not going to be able to tell the pattern until after a while. So let's do this again. So every time you start a row, you start with a knit, end in a purl. So you got to continue doing that in throughout. So I'm going to do my knit, wrap around, off needle. Gonna do my purl so my yarn is facing me. Whoops. Knit. I'm gonna do my purl. Knit. Purl, yarn behind, knit, yarn in front, purl, yarn behind, yarn in front, pull on your thread a little bit just so you could see. I'm gonna do one more row and you'll be able to see your knit purl pattern, okay? So once again, yarn behind, make your X, yarn through, loop off needle, yarn in front for a purl, yarn off needle, yarn behind for a knit, purl, knit. Wow, these colors are looking really, really exciting. I like them. Yarn behind for a knit. Whoops, there we go. Yarn in front for a purl. Whoop. There. Yarn behind for a knit. Yarn in front for a purl. There we go. Now, if you see the pattern, now this is your knit, and then these little bumps show me that these are pearls. And it's the same in the back. You can do scarves with this. You could do like this is 10 stitches. If you did like say 10 rows, you could make little coasters. Depending on the size of the yarn, also depends on the size of your needle. If you're working with regular Red Heart yarn, you would do like maybe 20 stitches and then 20 rows to make your square. You could do smaller ones. Eventually I will teach you how to do washcloth if you wish. Anyways, this is the end of my tutorial, so have yourselves a great Thanksgiving and have a happy day, and hope to see you back on my next video. Thank you. Bye.